Diablo 3 is a game that has had a long and sometimes painful history, and it hasn't even been out for 2 years yet. With that being said, here is my complete historical review of the game Diablo 3. Diablo 3 launched to much acclaim back in May of 2012, and was set to be the big follow-up to one of the best PC games ever made in Diablo 2. And it showed its hype as it became the fastest selling PC game ever. With that being said though, right out of the box it had a ton of trouble. Diablo 3 is an always on game, meaning whenever you're on the game and playing it, you're connected to Blizzard's servers. And at launch, the servers were overloaded from the amount of people trying to log on, which created the now infamous Error 37. That still didn't stop people from seeing how messed up the game really was though, as the balancing for the classes was so messed up it wasn't even funny. Mainly that being that demon hunters and wizards were so absolutely overpowered in terms of damage, it was crazy. Not to mention, one of the biggest problems of the game that I've heard of from the beginning was the yellow mobs that are elite. Well, technically they're called rares, but they're classified as elite mobs. They have minions with them, and the minions sometimes would have the mobs would sometimes have immortal minions, being that the minions couldn't die. The only way to stop the rare mob was to kill the glowing yellow enemy that's leading them all. And by that I mean, yeah, they were freaking immortal. I mean, how do you have enemies that can't die in a game that's entirely based around killing enemies? Not to mention though that this was a problem that was taken out in the first of many patches. The game also was panned for not having the customization options that Diablo 2 had. There weren't as many skills in Diablo 2, the gems didn't have as many options, and there weren't even as many runes for your skills as there were in Diablo 2 either. China by now. Another big problem with this game is the absolutely cliche-filled story. Your character in this game has the emotional range of Kristen Stewart. I mean, your character's favorite choices of words are, "I will destroy insert objective here." And that goes on pretty much throughout the entire game with whoever gives you a quest. I mean, Tyrael or Captain Rumper, whoever's giving you the quest, they'll be talking and it's just talk, talk, talk. And then your character butts in here and says, "I will destroy X." Okay, maybe we don't need to destroy X, but okay, we're destroying X. But that's what pretty much in the dialogue, that's the extent of what they're talking about when you're talking about quests. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't put any effort into the story, because they did. And Tyrael is he's a recurring character. He was in Diablo 2. But if you watch the first cinematic at the end of Act 1, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because and all of the cinematics in this game, including the really annoying ones that I've never watched after a quest, are really, really well animated. But I mean, the ones that pop up after a quest are absolutely crap and really annoying. I mean, they pretty much explain what you just did. You destroyed X. Good job. But some of the cinematics are some of the absolute nicest animated cinematics I've ever seen in my life. They're better than some video games I've played in terms of how just absolutely awesome they are in graphic fidelity. But back to my horse that's about to probably enter outer space. The bosses in this game are some of the most annoying freaking characters I've ever seen ever in anything. Asmodean in Act 3 is the worst, because throughout Act 3 all he does is taunt you and tell you what he's going to do. I will destroy the keep. You cannot stop me. Blah 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 crap. I mean, he tells us what he's going to do, and then we go and stop that. It's just like, okay, maybe if you stop telling us what you're supposed to do, maybe this will be a little bit more interesting. But that's how the creator just made him, so nothing you can do about that. Diablo isn't much better, though. I mean, he's not... It's not like he's the big bad guy or anything. Oh, wait, he is. But he's... Throughout Act 4, he just taunts you as well, and he's not quite as annoying as Asmodean, but he still is really annoying in the first part where you're destroying the rifts that his guys are supposed to be coming through, and you're going to destroy the rifts, and he says, "You mean to destroy the rifts? You shall fail." Or, "You mean to destroy the rift? You will fail. It will collapse in on you." And then you do it and nothing happens. But, I mean, if they spent half their time taunting you, that they could have put towards actually trying to stop you, it might have actually gone somewhere. Belial in Act 2, he might have been the best, even though that's still not saying much, simply because there's a small twist in how he pops up and how you fight him. I mean, at least they tried with him. They didn't even try with Asmodean or Diablo. Biggest paramount problem in this game. You guys who have played this game know what I'm talking about. And believe me, even if you do support it, you still know what I'm about to talk about. These places for me, though, have reserved themselves a special place in hell, though. And I mean the loot system in the auction house. Yes, the forefront of this game's problems until just a few weeks ago. The biggest problems with these two is how they're connected in the absolute worst way. And also how the real money auction house was an absolute shameless money grab from Blizzard. You see, the problem with the loot system is that it essentially forced you to use the auction house where everything gold-wise is overpriced as hell. In the real money auction house, though, let's see here. I'm trying to think of an example. A level 63 item in the real money auction house as a top tier, perfect roll, legendary item, that might only be $1. And you see, the problem with that is that top tier item that you could only dream of actually getting in game in the gold auction house would go for probably about, let's see, what was the max you could post something for? 250 billion gold. Let's put that into perspective. All the amount of time I've spent in this game, I think I've collected total 30 million gold. Now let that sink in. I've spent so much time on this game. I've probably collected total 30 million gold and sold items on the auction house total for probably only about 2 or 3 million. I couldn't sell them for crap. But think about that, though. I've probably gotten total in this game 40 million gold. That top tier item's 250 billion with a B. Billion gold. That's a small problem. But if you go to the real money auction house, though, you can probably only get it for like $1, maybe $2. I mean, the pool of that is absolutely amazing. And the biggest problem is that you shouldn't have to spend money. You shouldn't have to spend gold to get these great items. The whole thing also comes full circle in that the freaking loot system was absolutely broken. The old loot system dropped items that were it was absolutely random. And that's complete and utter crap. Let's say if I play my Demon Hunter, I mean I have a 1 in 5 chance of getting an item for my class every time a piece of loot drops. And even if I did get an item for my class, there's no guarantee that it's even going to be good enough for me to even make a difference. Chances are it'll probably be worse. I mean, when you play Inferno is when it is at its worst, because you would regularly get a level 53 or level 55 item when your character is level 60. I mean, there's no point in even like picking up these items unless I know some people actually spent enough time to actually crack it and they knew which items to actually pick up and would actually have a shot at being good. But I mean, when you're level 60, I mean, farming was an absolute joke. Farming for good loot, if you aren't familiar with what that is, I mean, it's just running through and trying to get good loot. I mean, you might as well just go to the auction house because you're not going to get anything good from just playing the game. But I mean, the chances of getting great legendary drops were absolutely microscopic. I mean, an example that I just thought off the top of my head would be is the South Park episode where they're in Afghanistan and they pull out a magnifying glass and shows Osama bin Laden's dick, and it's like absolutely tiny. For some reason, that example popped up in my head when I said that. But I mean, picking up a legendary item, chances are it's going to be crappy. I mean, I can't count the number of times I've been playing my Demon Hunter and, oh, look at that legendary. Oh, it's a sword. Oh, it's absolute crap. It's a level 60 legendary that's freaking like 1,000 damage and whatnot. But I can easily count on one hand, though, how many actually good level 60 legendary items I've gotten. And I'll list them off right now. On my wizard, I got a pair of firewalkers from a white chest randomly, and those are pretty good. On my barbarian, I got a Mempo of Twilight that I think he's actually still using. I can't remember if I actually got something better for him or not. I don't think I have. On my barbarian, though, I also got a Maximus, which is a two-handed sword that I use. When I think I use it mainly when I'm playing Act 2 and Act 3, because it's got a bonus against demons. I've got a wizard wand that was actually pretty good. I think he's actually still using that. I think it's called Slorak's Revenge or something. It's the one that laughs at you when you die. So every time I play him, I get laughed at. On my Demon Hunter, I think I've gotten strong arm bracers once or twice that were actually pretty decent. And I think I got a Natalia's Revenge, which is a set one-hand crossbow. But that's the good actual level 60 legendaries I've ever gotten. And I mean that's a big problem. Few improvements that were made to this game before 2014. Late 2012 or early 2013, the exact date is escaping me right now, but you had the addition of the Paragon level system that was added, which essentially pushed the level cap up to level 160. Also, each Paragon level you would get would increase your gold and magic find up. I do believe it was 2%. Also, several times throughout 2012 and 2013, drop rates were tweaked for legendary and set items, as well to at least try and help you get better items, even though the loot system was still broken. Yeah, they at least cranked it up so more items would drop, so your chances would be better. Also, you had the addition of the monster powers, which were added so you can make each difficulty you played on actually harder, but at the reward of potentially getting better items to drop. Playing monster power level 10, I mean, you're almost a mortal lock to get legendaries every time you played. In 2013, we got the inclusion of the Uber bosses, which were bosses that could be challenged after getting keys to drop off of key wardens, who were powerful enemies in each act that you could face. The key wardens were just bosses that you ran through, you killed them, but you got a chance to get keys off them, and the higher the monster power level you played on, the better the chance of getting a key to drop off of them. But after you got those keys, you could challenge the Uber bosses. Oh, I almost forgot. You got the keys to make the Infernal Machine, but you had to get the Infernal Machine plans to drop off of. You got them to drop off of the Act 4 Uber boss. But you made the Infernal Machines, which opened up a portal to face the Uber bosses. And then the Uber bosses, depending on the monster power you're on, had a chance to drop a legendary crafting material. And those crafting materials could be combined at the blacksmith, I believe. And he would make you a Hellfire Ring. And the Hellfire Ring was an absolute badass item when it rolled well. An absolute badass item that would just give you insane stats, and they would give you a bonus experience. And they also didn't have a level requirement, meaning any of your characters could put it on, get an absolute huge boost. Also in 2013, we did see the release of the game for 360 and PS3 as well. And if you've spent any time on this YouTube page, you already know my love of the 360 version, because the 360 and PS3 versions already had the Loot 2.0 system in them, and playing those pretty much gave you a look into what you could expect for the PC version, because the loot drop rates in the 360 and PS3 version of the game is absolutely out of this world. I mean, for example, when I played my wizard on the 360 version, he's absolutely like freaking stacked when it comes to the freaking items he's got. It's insane. I mean, I found, for example, for the absolutely insane legendary drops. I was playing on it was Act 3, it was the Ariat Core part, which is that's absolutely the freaking legendary heaven in that game. For some reason, every time I played through there, that little area, I would get legendaries like crazy. When I was playing, I actually got, not kidding, I'm not exaggerating this at all, I actually got 5 legendaries in the span of 1 minute. I was playing, just kill enemy, oh, legendary, okay, pick that up, go, like, 5 seconds later, kill a few more enemies, oh, legendary, kill some more legendary, kill some more legendary, kill some more legendary. It's absolutely insane. But I think the PC, or the console version, the drop rates are higher than the PC version, even now, because I think it's looked upon that the console, people that play the console version are as hardcore as the PC version. But that's pretty much how I think about the console versions and the improvements that were made to this game all throughout last year. It's full circle, and here we are at the present day. Earlier in this year, we saw the release of the Loot 2.0 Mega Patch for the PC version, and that essentially turned this freaking game on its head. We actually could get great loot now on the PC version. We saw the addition of diamonds as a new kind of gem. We saw an expanded upon Paragon level system that made the level cap infinite, but the soft cap is at 400, I do believe. And the Paragon level system now, every time you level up, you get to put a point into a category. And that point, under that category, you could add it to a number of your stats. I do believe its offense is dexterity, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and you can add to your resource pool. And defense is resist all, life on hit, and armor, I think. But you get the point. You get to put that point. I just realized what I said, but you get that point. But it also combines the stats into your offense and defense and your healing. But it adds all those detail stats into those three categories: damage, toughness, and healing. But all of those, your damage is pretty much your absolute damage rating. Toughness is the raw amount of damage your character can take before getting killed. And healing is a combination of your life on hit, I do believe, life regeneration, and life that you get from health globes. And it also eliminated the level required difficulties. Like, you had to get to level 30 to play Nightmare. You had to get to level 50 to play Hell. And, for example, on my Crusader, I've only played through the game. I haven't even completed it yet. I haven't killed the final boss of the end of Act 5 yet, and I'm level 50. That's one playthrough, and I'm almost level 50. And we also saw the death of the dreaded auction house as well 2 weeks ago. I've been keeping track. 2 weeks ago, the death of the auction house. And it will officially be removed completely from the game in June, once Blizzard is sure most people have taken their items out of the completed tab in the auction house. And on March 25th, we saw the drop of the expansion in Reaper of Souls. And the expansion bumped the level cap up to 70, and also had the inclusion of a much grittier and darker act in Act 5. And also with the expansion, we saw the inclusion of the adventure mode and the Nephilim rifts, which you can complete bounties to get good loot in adventure mode. And also you would get the Nephilim rift keys, where you use 5 of them, and then you can use them to go do a Nephilim rift, where you kill a certain amount of enemies and you kill a final boss at the end, and you get you get some great stuff out of doing those. And that's the best way. That's the best thing they've done for an end game yet, for sure. Also in the expansion, you had the new addition of a new artisan, which was added so that they can enchant an item and transmog an item. They can enchant it, where you get an item. Say, I find a crossbow and I want a socket on it so I can throw an emerald in it to do more critical hit damage. Well, I can re-roll a stat to try and get a socket on it, to put that socket, to put the gem in the socket, but you have to enchant it. You can change only one stat, and once you make that choice, you can't change. You can only re-roll that same stat. Like, I have to re-roll, say the crossbow lets me do more hungering arrow damage. Well, I can re-roll that, and I can see a list of the stuff that I can get if I re-roll that stat, and socket's going to be one of them. So I'm like, okay, I'll re-roll that. And then you enchant that, and every time you enchant an item, it's an absolute random guess, and you can choose from one of two things or keep the original stat. Say I get it adds I do that, and then the two things that pop up is the Phantom Knives and a socket. I'm like, oh sweet, I get my socket, I choose that, I'm done. And transmog is it's something pulled from World of Warcraft, and you can say I want my crossbow to look like a manticore. Well, I can go and transmog that and get it to look like a manticore now, instead of being like a rare crossbow. Now it looks like a manticore, so now it looks badass. And also in the expansion, some of the boss fights in the previous acts, though, have made a lot tougher than in previous acts. The one with the biggest change is Magda's, who had a ridiculously easy boss fight. Now she spawns freaking tons. Instead of spawning like 5 enemies that are easy to kill, she spawns like, I think it's like 20 now, that are still not that hard to kill, but they're tougher and can make for pain in the absolute ass. And also, one thing that I'm actually very pleased to see is that dialogue has been changed. If you just talk to, like, one that I noticed was when I was playing my Crusader, and more on him in a minute. When you get when you rescue Deckard Cain in the beginning, and Leah who's a big character in the game. When they have their first conversation, they change it from, like, I think Leah says that she instantly like knows what Deckard Cain's talking about. But in this one, she's like, I'm not sure what you're talking about, and he like says something extra, and then she's like, oh, now I know what you're talking about. But they make it a lot more realistic. Like, it's not super one-dimensional. Now there's actually some depth to every conversation you have. And also your character, it changes for your character as well. They're not a complete and total robot. It's still not great, but it's definitely better. And then in the expansion, they added several new skills for once you get above level 60. On level 61 on Demon Hunter, you get Vengeance, which is a bit like the Archon form for Wizard. And also, the expansion gives you the Crusader, who is a melee fighter, but he also has several ranged attack skills as well. Also, he has some of the best dialogue that I've ever seen in this game. He's actually really funny. I have the Enchantress with him now, and the Enchantress is like, well, she just randomly pops up, can I talk to you about something? And the Crusader says, oh, as long as it's not about guys. And she's like, what, wait, no, that's not what I was going to talk about. I got a pretty good laugh out of that. But the Crusader also he uses a flail, which is his unique item, and also Crusader shield, which is pretty much a buffed up shield. And the flails look freaking badasses. They're freaking sweet. Also, they've added some like really kick-ass legendary items that are level 70 items. And they have a special affix on them, which is a bonus effect that only that item can have. One of them that I've seen that is the best that I've seen so far is my friend has an amulet that will spawn out 2 shadows every 30 seconds that do the amount of damage that you do, which is a great amount of damage. And they just go out and just kick everything's ass for like 30 seconds, go away. They go away for like 15 seconds, and then they'll come back out and just kick some more ass. I mean, they're freaking awesome. All in all, though, this game is definitely one of my favorite games of all time. But then again, I am a huge sucker for loot-based games. I mean, I played Diablo 3. I got the game in August of 2012, and I would play it. I played it a ton for probably about 6, 7 months. Then I wouldn't play it for a while. Then I would play it for. Then I would go back and start playing it again. Then stop playing it. Then it was just a game that it's like, huh? You know what? I haven't played Diablo in a while. I'll go play some. And I mean, it's just a really fun, addicting game, even when it wasn't perfect. But with the release of the expansion, though, I can report that for about 3 or 4 days straight last week, I was pretty much only playing this game. This game. I mean, the amount of stuff they've added is absolutely amazing. I definitely can see this game getting like a second life after the Reaper of Souls expansion dropped. But if you do want to get into Diablo 3, now is the time to do so. And definitely spend the money and pick up Reaper of Souls as well. It's totally worth the $40. But for my overall numerical ratings for Diablo 3, I would say back at its launch, I would give it a 5 out of 10. It was a basically broken game. It was borderline broken, I would say. But after some patches and updates in 2013, in the middle of 2013, I would give it about 6.5 out of 10. It was getting some improvements, but nothing earth-shatteringly awesome. And now, today, April 3rd, I would give it a 9 out of 10. It's gotten, like I said, it's getting a second life because of the Loot 2.0 patch and the expansion. And definitely, Blizzard is not giving up on this game. They could have just phoned it in and said, we failed. We'll release an expansion and get on with it. But the expansion, Reaper of Souls itself, definitely gets a 9.5 out of 10. Not quite a 10. I think if they wanted to, they could have probably switched up gems a little bit. They added some new gems that are really badass, but I think they could have added an effect or switched a few more things around. They could have gotten it a 10, but 9.5 out of 10 it's still amazing. It's still top of the line. Awesome. But thank you guys for watching. I will be starting my Diablo 3 for 360 walkthrough back up later this month once I get out of school and I'm absolutely bored. And as always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to us and rate below. Tell me how I did. I'm trying to get better at these reviews. I know Matt's been busting my chops every time I release a review or something. But hopefully I'm getting better. But thank you guys for watching.